Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our entitled people. In today's episode, hey, we're closed. Just a little bit longer. Entitled woman in Walmart. Hitchhiker mistakes me for his personal chauffeur. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Hey, we're closed. Just a little bit longer. This happened last night. I work security at a bar, mainly checking IDs and making sure the place doesn't get too rowdy, which it usually doesn't. Last night, a group of mostly British people came in around 11 to 11:30 and they stayed until close 2 a.m. We have a ping pong table and the group spent most of their time playing on it. The night continued as normal. I closed the back areas of the bar at 1 and announced last call 30 minutes later. 2 a.m. rolls around and the first issue comes up. I turn off the music in the middle of a song which the group expresses disappointment in, even if it was a Nickelback song. Characters: me, PPG, Ping Pong Guy, OBG, other British guys, other members of the group. Me: hey guys, it's 2 o'clock. We are officially closed. Time to head to the exit. OBG: can we take some photos in the photo booth first? Me: okay, fine. I let them take their photos and I do a couple of tasks during this time. Our photo booth is slow, so it takes them a couple of minutes to take all the photos. As this is going on, the two guys are still playing ping pong. I finish the brief tasks I was doing and see that the group has finished taking their photos and PPG and the other guy are still playing ping pong. It's 2:05 at this point. Me: alright y'all, we are officially closed. PPG: just a 2 more points. Me: no, 1 more point. I let them do a game point, reminding them this is the last point of the night. The guy PPG was playing gets the point. Me: alright, we are closed. Time to head out. PPG: 2 more minutes. Me: I already gave you 5 minutes. PPG: come on, just 2 more points. Me: I already gave you a game point. PPG: come on, mate, just 2 minutes. Me: I already gave you 5 minutes. We are closed. He continues to plead his case. I continue to deny him. The group he's with are keeping out of it, but they're basically ready to leave. PPG: how will you be able to sleep tonight knowing you kept the game from finishing? Me: I'll sleep like a baby. PPG: yeah, you look like a baby. At this point, I'm pretty much done with this guy. I act like I didn't hear him and simply take the paddles and ball away. The group eventually leaves. OBG: sorry about him. He's from a different country. Me: it's alright. It's just time to go. Have a good night. I do legitimately wish them a good night before locking the door. And that's pretty much the story. Might not be much, but both me and the bartender I was working were both annoyed at this guy. Former bar manager: never give an inch. We are closed. Lights go up. Tables and chairs cleaned. Drinks cleared. My bud was a bartender and bar manager for 35 years. He always had his watch and all the clocks set 20 minutes ahead. If you were in his bar at 2, you're probably not going to look at your watch anyway. We called it gym time. And you're absolutely right. His bar, his rules, you don't like it, you're 86 Ed. You try to argue, you get trespass persona non grata and the cops get a call. Entitled woman in Walmart. This happened a few years ago at my first job working as a cashier in Walmart while in grade 12. I, F17 at the time, was going about my job normally, getting people through cash and just trying to get through my shift with my social anxiety. An elderly woman comes through my cash, doesn't say a word through the entire transaction, has a cart absolutely filled with stuff. After everything has been scanned and bagged, she used her card and started putting everything in the cart. It was declined. I told her so and she just stared at me. So I handed her the little receipt slip saying her card was declined. Now, Normally people say oops and fix it, no problem. Instead, she barely looks at the slip and then just walks away with her cart full of stuff. I immediately called for my CSM, put the transaction on hold, and started helping the next customer while I waited. CSM arrives, and as I'm trying to quietly explain what happened while still tending to customers, a woman maybe in her 30s walks up and starts yelling at me. Straight up yelling at me about how her mother never got her receipt. I was completely rattled but looked over towards the exit and saw the older woman standing with her cart. I pointed at her and asked if that was her mother. She said yes and started going off on me about the receipt again. When I could finally get a word in, I explained that her mother didn't have a receipt because she hasn't actually paid for her items yet. Her card was declined. At this point, I expected there to be at least a little change in her attitude, but nope. She seems to get even more upset with me and asks why the hell I let her walk away without paying. I had to bite my tongue to keep from saying, what was I supposed to do? Physically restrain an old lady? My CSM cut in and took the receipt with the transaction on hold and the woman over the customer service to sort things out. Afterwards, he came back with a coworker and had her take over my cash so I could give him the full story of what happened. He told me that I did the right thing in that situation, apologized that I got yelled at by a customer, and told me to go ahead and go on my break. I honestly just couldn't believe that this woman tried to blame me for her mother's card being declined and acting like I was an absolute villain for such a small thing that I could not have controlled. I really kind of wonder if that tactic worked for her in the past. My exact thoughts. My sympathies. I worked in retail for many years, most of the time as a cashier. I have more such stories than I could count. Of course, both women tried to blame you, honey. Listen carefully. They were trying to provoke a scene so that they could complain about your poor attitude. Then the starts with B rhymes with witches could use that in order to get discounts or freebies of some kind. The two women were setting you up, and they probably had it planned before they ever got in line at any cashier's register. In my experience, that's the most common reason. It's also true that these miserable Karens and Kevins sometimes go into stores, restaurants, etc., specifically to abuse people they know can't fight back. You handled those two women at least as well as anyone else could have. Hitchhiker mistakes me for his personal chauffeur. HI, just found this sub, and I think my tale of Hitchhiker abusing my kindness might amuse you. So years ago I was driving home and spotted a scruffy-looking guy by the roadside with his thumb out. In the UK, you don't see this very often, but tea was pouring with rain and I felt bad, so I picked him up. After asking where he was going, he said a town that was 14 miles out of my way, so a 28-mile round trip, but I had nothing on that day and was feeling kind, so dropped him right to his destination. During the drive, I told him my name, and during the conversation told him what I did and where I worked, etc. Fast forward 2 nights later, I get a call on my mobile, pretty late, like 11 p.m. from a landline. Answering it, it was the hitchhiker. He wanted me to come and pick him up and drop him to another town 20-odd miles away. I politely said no mate, it's too late. Confused, I asked how he got my number. I thought for a minute. I must have given it to him and forgotten. No, turns out he rung my work for me when I was off and pretended to be my mate to get my personal number. Well, this went on for weeks. Every so often he would ring requesting I collect him from miles away. He would always use payphones, so I couldn't even block him from calling. LOL. It came to a head when he actually turned up at my work with his dog and requested I drive him to London, which is over 300 miles from where I live. This was when I told him to get off and stop contacting me. Luckily, that was the last I heard or saw from him. Well, you're unable to block him, as you said, calling from a bunch of different phones. What you can do is find out the prat who gave out your number and read them the riot act. You're in the UK, so GDPR doesn't work there anymore, but I expect there is something very similar that they, and the company, might be threatened with. And good for you telling him to bugger off. GDPR absolutely applies in the UK. I'd be giving my work hell for giving it my number. Leave a message and I'll call you. No good deed goes unpunished. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.